Hello, it's the Friday Talkie. And what have I got to talk about today? Couple of things, I guess. So you will have noticed recently I got one of these. It's an Everdrive. It is the Everdrive Deluxe Edition, or Everdrive MD Deluxe Edition. I don't know what makes it deluxe over other Everdrives. I got it from Stone Age Gamer in the US. It comes with this here nice case. You get a few bits and bobs in it. Sticker, another sticker, a user manual, which in all honesty I didn't find especially useful. Why did I get it from Stone Age Gamer? You might well ask. And if you're wondering how much did I pay, $135.44, which amounted to something around £80 or thereabouts. Why did I get that from the US when there are UK based sellers stocking it? Well, stocking is an interesting word, isn't it? And I'm not talking about hosiery and stuff. Yeah, I found at least a couple of UK sellers who said they had them, but you go along and try to buy them and it says pre-order now. Okay. They said pre-order now about 3 weeks ago when I was looking to buy one, and they still say pre-order now. Well, I ordered this thing from Stone Age Gamer and it arrived in about a week and a half from the US. No customs messing around or anything. It's just placed me order, they took me money, they sent me the thing. Nice and quick delivery. I mean, God, I've had slower delivery from companies in the UK, so I was really pleased. The manual I found not entirely helpful, but there were online manuals that were very easy to find. You have to flash your own, well, I say your own, you have to download the operating system. You have to go to the Crix website and download the operating system, put it on your SD card, and I don't know why that doesn't come in as standard. I find that odd, but there you go. I guess it's so in case they've updated it at the the manufacturer chap in the Ukraine, so that you've always got the latest, most up-to-date version on there. But it was kind of awkward. I had a bit of trouble finding out where the download link was, but that's just me. Yeah, so obviously it works. It took me a little while to figure out what I was meant to be doing with it, how the menu thingy worked, because instructions, there are instructions, and I suppose, but there are different versions of the Everdrive. I don't know if I don't really know. I struggled with it until I had to sit and mess around with it. There was information there that was correct and probably useful, but it wasn't the information I wanted. There wasn't an awful lot of hand-holding, and I guess I kind of wanted that. But never mind, I figured it out. Once you've figured it out, it is not difficult to use. It's a peculiar thing in that it has an SD card in it. You can have an SD card included with it as an option. You really aren't likely to need more than 2 gigs. That's all I ordered. And I've got pretty much every Mega Drive 32X and Master System game ever made, and a few hacks and whatnot on there as well. And it all fits. You don't really need to go for anything bigger. What was I going to say? Yes. You would think, because there's an SD card in it, you stick your SD card into the cartridge, slap it into your Mega Drive and or 32X, and hey presto, you think there'll be a menu and you'll just load it straight from a big long list from the SD card. But it doesn't actually work that way. The SD card is used for storage, but how to explain it? The Mega Drive expects to find a game cartridge. The cartridge doesn't act as an interface to an SD card, with the SD card acting as a cartridge. It doesn't do that. You basically have to flash the cartridge You got to take a game from all the games stored on your SD card and flash the cartridge with one of those, which takes getting on, I don't know, 30-40 seconds, because you've got to delete the previous game and then load the next and flash it onto the cartridge. And you effectively, whichever game you've chosen, the Everdrive cartridge is now that game. It treats it as a game cartridge, and if you reset your Mega Drive, it will just load into whatever game you've flashed onto the Everdrive cartridge. If you want to load a new game, you've got to turn it off and then on again and go back into the menu system that way. It takes a little bit of getting used to. It's what I would describe as slow and clunky, but it works. And when you can have all those games, download them for free, you know, 70-80 pounds. Some of those games, like the 32X ones in particular, Dark Side sells for £800,000, something crazy like that, for a genuine cartridge. If you don't want to use emulators, if you want to play that game on a proper Mega Drive and 32X, the Everdrive is the only way you're going to do it, unless you've got insane amounts of money. So I think it's brilliant and worth every single penny. You know, you can have every game ever made for the system. 70-80 quid? Bargain. Well, you know, forgive a little bit of clunkiness in the interface, no problem. There is, what is it, the Mega Everdrive or Turbo Everdrive or something or other coming out, which I think loads straight off the SD card. But I didn't want to spend that much money, and I don't actually know if they're in full production yet. But there you go. Now, all of this brings me to my next subject. It's actually my main subject, and it was the subject I was going to talk a bit about last week, but I didn't get round to it. Gaming, and it's not just gaming, it's everything really. Can you have too much of a good thing? Is it bad to have too much of a good thing, or lots of? What do I mean by this? And a few people have actually spoke about this recently as well, or topics related to it. And to explain what I mean, let's go back to the late 70s, early 80s, shall we? TV. When I were a lad, cue Hovis music, we had 3 TV channels. BBC One, BBC Two, ITV. That was it. And they closed down at night. You know, it hit about midnight, 1 AM, something like that, and it all shut down. There was no telly. There was no radio either, unless you could get a signal from Radio Luxembourg. Those Baby Sham adverts. Yeah. Broadcast entertainment was very, very limited. And so, if there was, say, a film on TV, you watched it. And it didn't matter what it was. It didn't matter if it was good or bad. It was the only film you were going to see. If you didn't have the money for the cinema, and my family certainly didn't, I never, ever went to the cinema with my family. My parents never in my entire childhood took me to the cinema, ever. If I was going to see a film, it was going to be on the telly. Or later on, maybe a friend of mine with a VHS recorder would all go around their place and watch a film there. First time I ever went to the cinema was it was a school trip. Smokey and the Bandit 2. Yay. A second time I ever went to the cinema was Return of the Jedi. It was a friend's birthday. So, you know, films were a very, very limited, rare, special treat for me in my childhood. And whatever was on, you watched it, and you bloody well enjoyed it, because it was the only one you were going to watch for several days. Saturday morning TV. You watched Noel Edmonds' Multicoloured Swap Shop, or you watched Tiz Was, or something like that, because it was all there was. If you wanted kids programs or something aimed at your age group, you didn't have a lot of choice. And you look back at them now, they're pretty crap, really. They're pretty bad. But you didn't have choice. So whatever there was, you gave it your full attention because it was all you were going to get. In fact, music as well. The first album I ever bought was Adam and the Ants, Kings of the Wild Frontier, and it was probably the only album I had for quite a long time, and I just played it over and over and over. And when I was able to buy VHS, Blade Runner was one of the first films I ever bought. It may have been the first film I ever bought. I have watched it over 1,000 times, because when you don't have any choice, you make the absolute most of what you've got. Gaming. I had an Atari 2600. Games for it cost £30 a time. People complain about games now. Some of them cost £40, but give it a little while, they'll cost £30, and they complain about them being too expensive now. And I say, you don't know what you're talking about. £30 for an Atari cartridge. 4K of ROM. Tiny little game, repetitive as hell most of them. I mean, they were fun, some of them really were fun. Galaxian, Defender, Battlezone, Spider-Man, tiny little games. Space Invaders. £30, you played it to death and you loved it and you were grateful you had it, because you probably, if you were in a family like mine, only got 2 or 3, or if you were really lucky, 4 games a year. You played them to death, and that £30 was, you got your money's worth. £30 now, people say, oh, companies, they're ripping us off, I'm just going to pirate it, they should charge less. Like hell. You're getting a massive virtual world, hours and hours and hours of gameplay, all kinds of features and God knows whatever else, and people say £30 is too much. I say bollocks. You don't know when you've never had it so good, to quote some politician. God, I sound like a Tory, don't I? Yeah. The thing is, you didn't have a choice. So you appreciated what you got because it was all you were going to get. Now, movies. I have noticed a thing. We here in this house, we've got Netflix, we've got Love Film, which actually is kind of a bit buggered up now. Amazon have rebranded it and I don't like what they've done with it. We've got umpteen billion satellite channels. We are so utterly spoiled for choice. TV programmes, I actually never ever have a problem finding something I want to watch on TV, because I'll just put on one of the history channels. I sleep with war documentaries on. Not because they're boring, but because the tone of the guy's voice I find really relaxing. And it doesn't matter if I've heard that documentary umpteen times over, because I'm not listening anyway, it's just the tone of the voice. But I'll sleep to that, you know, put one of those on, bam, I'm gone. Films, though, it is kind of a problem with Netflix and Love Film combined. Myself and Andrea, we will flick through the films, and there are lots of films, and there are lots of, I won't say really good films, but lots of okay films. Lots of films that back in the 70s and 80s, if they had come on TV, if that had been the film of the night or the week, it would have been watched. We would have watched it and been grateful for it and thought, yeah, that was pretty good. It would have kept us occupied for a couple of hours, especially on a Sunday, because Sundays were so bloody boring. All the shops were shut. There was nothing to do, literally nothing. You put the telly on and there were songs of praise. You went to the shop and it was shut. There was nothing. So anything that came on the telly, you know, a film, wow, that would have been a treat. But now, with hundreds, tens of thousands, whatever, all these films, we'll sit there and spend maybe an hour flicking through all the films. And there are maybe a couple of dozen where we think maybe, and then there's another and it's maybe, and in them we don't watch anything because there are so many fairly good ones that unless something really stands out as absolutely fantastic, we can't decide, and we're just like and we'll put the news on or something. Too much choice. Supermarket. I wanted some toothpaste. Last week I was in Wilko's buying toothpaste, and I knew I wanted Colgate. I always have Colgate. It's just my favourite brand of toothpaste. And I went to the toothpaste rack, and once upon a time you'd go to where the toothpaste was in your supermarket or whatever. You'd have Colgate, you'd have Gibbs SR, you'd have, God, what are the other ones? You know what, I don't even know. Aquafresh. And you know, there would be 3 or 4 brands, and each would have 1 or maybe 2 types of toothpaste. And it was easy. I went in there last week, there was a whole bloody rack of Colgate. Colgate Total plus whitening, Colgate blah blah whitening plus blah. Umpteen different things, and I'm just looking at it thinking, I just want some toothpaste. What? I'm not good with lots of choice. It's like, someone spoke about it recently, and I can't remember who it was. Coffee. I want a cup of coffee. You go into Starbucks or Costa, and you're like, cup of coffee, please. Would you like latte? Would you like tall? Would you like short? Would you want this? Do you want? Give me a cup of coffee. All that choice, I'm not good with it. I won't even dream of going into Subway. I just want a bloody sandwich. And anyway, all of this brings me to gaming. I have a lot of games. You're probably familiar. It's a mess in here actually, but you know, there's 1 or 2 games in here, and how the hell do you decide what to play? It has been a problem for me, having all of these. Do I play them? You know, I've been asked in the past, so do you play all of them then? Herp derp, I think, would be an appropriate response to that. How am I going to play all of these? There's the thing. What I'm trying to do with this YouTube channel is do a video of every single game in my collection. But doing a video, a gameplay video, is not the same as playing the game. You know, 10 minutes, never played it before. Very likely I'm never going to play it again. And it gets played for the purposes of making the video. And it's fun. It serves a purpose. It's so you can see what it looks like. And so I know what it looks like. So I can decide, is this a fun game or not? First impressions. Can I plug this game in and enjoy it? And then keep a mental note for later on. Because there's the thing. I have more games, vastly more games than I can play from start to finish or in any meaningful fashion. So you might say, well, why the hell have them all? And I've said it before, a lot of these games I get as bundles when I've bought hardware. So is it a bad thing to have all of them? Is it stupid? Is it pointless? Is it greedy? Am I hoarding? Am I preventing other people from having them? No, I'm really not. If someone else wanted these, they could buy them. They're out there. I don't have super mega rare games. The thing with it is, yes, I've got more choice and more games than there are enough hours in the day to play them all. But what it does mean, and it is the same with music and with films, it means now that I can be really, really discerning about what I play. So back in the day I would spend many hours playing a game that was maybe a pile of crap, or at least not very good. and I would make myself enjoy it because I wanted my money's worth. I don't do that anymore. There are games that I will spend many hours playing, but I don't have to make myself enjoy it. I will play a game for a little bit, and if it is not incredibly good, I will move on to the next one. So that the only games I spend lots and lots of time on are really, really good games. I mean, there is the downside. I have spent money on some games that have not been fantastic, but then you always do that, I think, especially in the early days of a console's life. PS3, I got that before the games for it that I really love were out. In fact, I mean, what do I play on it now? PS3. I play Battlefield 3, I play Gran Turismo 6, I play Grand Theft Auto 5. They're all I play now. And I bought quite a lot of games before that. And I played them, but none before that were really, and I mean even the Call of Duties, I don't play them anymore. Because, you know, they're okay, but something has to be better than okay to be worth the time. I'm trying to think what kind of point I'm making now, actually. Can you have too much of a good thing? I don't think you can have too much if it serves a purpose. But when you've got a lot, you can be more discerning. You know, in the early life of a games console, you're going to play stuff and spend a fair bit of time on games that are not brilliant because you don't have that much choice. But by the time you do have lots of choice, by the end of the life of a console, yeah, you're going to have found out what's brilliant and what's not. And why spend your time on something that's not brilliant? This Everdrive is fantastic. The way I'm actually dealing with it, because it takes a little while to load a game into it, to, you know, the point, you're running through your list of games on it, and the time between deciding which game you want and actually it being able to play is about a minute, 2 minutes, something like that. And that's not great when you've got several hundred games. That's kind of slow. What I've done is all the games I've got on my Everdrive, I've also got on my Huddle Android tablet. And I've got an emulator on there. And it's much, much quicker to load a game. You know, it's just big long list, flick through it, click, bam, it's playing. And I do that. I use my Huddle to look at the games, have a 30 seconds of play, something like that, and see, is this something I can understand? Because some of the Japanese ones I really don't. Is it something I want to play? Because if it's a strategy or a role play or a sports game, I don't give a crap and I ain't going to play it, or a puzzle game. And I'll flick through and look for ones that are of a genre that I give a crap about. And then I make mental notes or even write down a list of the stuff that I think, yeah, that looks worth a play, that looks worth making a video of at a later date. So having that big mass of games, I kind of work my way through on the Huddle. See, it's like a filtering process. Is it worth making a video of? And if it is, I will make a video of, and in the process of doing that, I'll decide actually, is this game any good or not? Is it something I'll play later? Because I think I still really like Mega Drive games. I mean, yeah, I've got me PS3 and I've got me 3DS and all this other stuff. But there is something about Mega Drive games. The really, really good ones still hold my attention. I'll still play Hard Driving. I'll sit for like 20 minutes, half an hour playing Hard Driving on the Mega Drive just because I can, because I loved it then and I still love it now. And Sonic the Hedgehog 1. I mean, I bought that for me 3DS. Other games that are on there, and there are some, you know, I hope to find some that I don't know of that I think this is really good. And if I find some like that I think that are great, that I'll spend time with, I'll actually buy the original cartridge and stick it on the shelf there, because that's what that lot is. If I think a game is great, I'd kind of like it on the original hardware and not just on the Everdrive, assuming it can be had for a decent price. Yeah. So, too much of a good thing? No, I don't think so. Takes up an amount of space, but serves a purpose, and that is being discerning, picking out the very best stuff, so that when you do have the time for gaming, you're playing the good stuff. That's how I treat it. About all, really. I have found myself with, like, duplicates over the years, and I kind of ponder, because I have no qualms about having all of this. You get the odd person saying, oh, you're hoarding, you're stopping other people from playing it, blah, and I just say bollocks to that. But when I find myself with duplicates, well, yeah. And I'm kind of pondering what I'll do with that. I know some, because I'm coming up to my 10,000 subscriber thing. I need about another 130 subscribers. It's going up really bloody slow at the moment. Some channels, when they hit a milestone, they do a giveaway, they do a competition. I don't want to do that, because I find it's often people look at you and say, yeah, you just picked your mates or something. But I don't know, I'll kind of figure something to do with the duplicates I've got, because it seems a shame to just sit on, well, I'm not sitting on them, but you know, have them sitting here when maybe other people would appreciate them. I'll have to figure out something to do with them. Sometime around my 10,000 subscriber mark, I think. We'll see. I need to sort them out. Think that's all I've got to talk about. That's probably quite a short video, but hell, I've been struggling to make anything at the weekends just lately. Too much fun. Last week I was just I had my Gran Turismo head on. I could not talk. I was driving. Yeah, and now I've got my Everdrive head on. It's all 32X. I don't, probably there's going to be at least another week, maybe another week after that of 32X before I move on to the Mega Drive. There are a few 32X games that I won't be able to play. Yes, there's a thing. The Everdrive has a region unlock thing on it. Mega Drive games generally should all be, it should override any region locking, though I have found a couple where it doesn't. But maybe that's because I've got the 32X plugged in. I'll have to find out about that. But 32X games are region locked, and in a really devious way. Mega Drives have region encoding. They have U for USA, E for Europe, and J for Japan. And this can be overcome with an Everdrive, apparently. 32Xs have two different things. That you have NTSC and you have PAL, and you could run, I suppose, the region basically they've got to match up. You try and run a NTSC based game on a PAL 32X, it ain't gonna work, even if you change the region coding on the ROM. If you change it from like a E to a, or from a U to an E, or all kinds of tinkering with it, it just plain don't work. You can get these cartridge add-on plug-in things that are supposed to unblock region coding, and it just plain don't work because of your NTSC and PAL, and then your E, U and J things. If they don't match up, it don't work. So there are a few 32X games I won't be able to play, which is a shame. But there are a few 32X games that I'm just plain not going to play anyway. Mainly sports games. I just don't give a crap. We'll see if I can figure them out. If they'll play and I can figure them out, maybe, but nah. Yeah, that's really what's coming up. More 32X, Mega Drive. I've got some Master System ROMs on there as well. I have to unplug the 32X to make those work. That's an interesting quirk of the system. This also shows how really clever the Everdrive is, because you don't need the master base converter to play Master System games on a Mega Drive. It effectively has a Master System or Master Base converter built in to the Everdrive cartridge. Clever stuff. I'm sitting here now looking at another game that I want to play and do a video of, because I was inspired by Lawn Boy's post, because he did a video recently of the Italian Job, and I saw that and liked the game, or the video of the game, so much I went and bought that off of eBay. So there'll be some Italian Job soon-ish. Also got Toka Racing, Toka Touring Cars 1 with that as well. I've done a video of Toka 2, but I've got Toka 1 as well, so that'll be coming up sometime soon-ish, maybe. That's all. Rambling now. Think I'll go and edit this video. Thank you for watching.
If you enjoyed this video, please consider clicking the thumbs up button. I upload videos daily, so go ahead and hit subscribe if you'd like to see more. To all those who've already subscribed, I'd just like to say a great big thank you.